Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. So carrying on with this bell chaser. So I need to sort these rams out now. So I've done them pivots, done the cracks in the chassis. Now I need to sort these out. So one end should be simple because they've got bushes in. So just knock them out and put some new bushes in. This end doesn't have anything in, it's just metal to metal. So that's going to be a bit more tricky. What I maybe should have done was done these rams first, because then I could have reamed them out to 32mm instead of 30mm, and then I could have made them 32mm and put a 32mm pin through, but I've done them at 30mm, so I can't really do that. But I'll take the ram off. What I might be able to do is ream them out to 34mm and then put a 34mm bush in it with a 30mm ID. I'll take it off and see whether there'll be enough metal there to do that. Right, I've got this ram sat on the mill now. I've sat it on the V-blocks that the Siegmund table came with, just to lift it off the bed a bit. And then I've used the 30mm reamer to run, well, just use that to line it up to make sure that the hole is straight up and down, and then centralise it. And I've got that zeroed. doesn't matter too much, and could be a little bit of tolerance on that. So I think what I'll do now is I'll swap this reamer over onto a 34mm reamer and open the hole up to 34mm. And then I can put in a 34mm bush with a 30mm hole in it. Because there isn't much metal at that side of the hole, what I might do is offset it a little bit on the DRO, so it's taking more out of this bottom side than it is at the top side. It's not going to affect anything enough to have to worry about it, so it just means I'm not going to be getting too close to that. So if I go 1mm that way, then we're taking more out of the bottom. So yeah, that should do it. Now that's that one done, reamed out to 34mm. So it was quite a big cut for the reamer. I know everyone gets upset with how much I take out with reamers, so I might run through with a drill first on the next one. But in my eyes, on a reamer, all of that there is a cutting edge. So providing the hole you're trying to go through is not smaller than what the cutting edge is, they still take it all right. So yeah, that's that end done. I just need to get some bushes. I haven't got any bushes yet. While it's on here and fastened down, I'll knock this bush out and get a measurement of that and see what that needs to be. Put something under it somewhere to support it. That's that bush out as well, so that's 36mm OD and 30mm RD. So I'll take this one off now and do the same with the other one. Right, got the second one set up. We'll run the drill through this one first and then go through with the reamer, and it's not having to cut so much out all at once with the reamer. Alright, that's the third ram done as well. I didn't video that because you'd already seen me do it on the other two rams. So that's them ends sorted. I just need to wait for the bushes to come. I need to sort this end out now. So these are the bushes I've just knocked out. quite a big gap down them. And then that was the one that came out, that one dropped out by itself when I took the ram off. But when you put that in there, that just dropped straight through there. So that's no good. Well, that bush is different to the others because that one has a grease hole in it, where they don't. So whether someone has made that one. Then these holes don't measure a standard measurement. So measure it that way, and it measures, I can't do it with one hand, but it 35.82 or 83. And if I measure it the other way, that measures 36. So, but that's not a standard size for a bush, I don't think. So I think I'll leave the rams for the time being until I figure out what to do with them bushes. So I think I'll move this out of the workshop now. I've done everything I can sort of on that. There was a crack under there still, but sort of needed that tipping up. So I'll get all my tools cleared off it and then get that shifted out and get the other bits brought in. I brought these bits in now so we can get these bits sorted. And then there's these linkages as well. A bit unsure what to do with these because, on these, if you look in these holes, you can still see the original paint. And you can see they've been laser cut holes from new. They haven't been drilled or reamed, they've just been laser cut, and you can still see the laser cut marks around the holes. So they aren't that worn, not much is worn out of them, but when you put a bolt through them, I know the bolt could be a little bit worn, but look how slack that is. And same at that end, still see the original painting there. Maybe a bit worn out of that side. But again, that bolt is slack in that hole. And then this hole here, on this frame, you can still see the original marks around it where it's been laser cut. So not much has worn out of that, if any. But then again, when you put the bolt through there, how slack that is. So obviously from new, it's not been that fantastic. That's got bushes in, so they're easy enough to replace. This linkage has bushes in that end. Them holes are a bit worn, so I'll have to sort them out. And these holes don't have bushes in, but it's going to be a big job to do anything with them because it's a bit of solid that's welded in around the end and around the sides. So I think these pivots will have to be alright as they are. They're a bit worn, but they're not desperately bad. With them, I think they'll have to be alright as well because they're the same thing. Again, there's no bushes in them. Yeah, so I think I'll concentrate on these first because with them being a linkage, it's like the pivots are very close together. Well, it goes from like that to like that, and when it's like that, because there isn't much offset between this hole and that hole, a little bit of wobble makes a lot of movement, if that makes sense. And then same with this, so I'd say they're most important. Not sure what that one's like yet. Yeah, and it depends on how far to go with it. I think what I'll do with these, I'll do one at a time. I'll weld round the holes, build the holes back up with weld, and then I'll use one as a template, tack one to the other, and then use the old hole as a guide to run the reamer through to do the first one, and then do the same again. Weld the holes around that one, tack them back together, and then use the first one as a guide for the second one. That'll be the easiest way to keep the holes in. If I weld them both up, then there isn't really anything for me to go off. I suppose I could measure, I'd have to measure the centres, but it's just a lot more tricky getting it lined up. If I just use one to guide the reamer through the other, then it just makes it easier. So I've got the first set of holes welded up, drilled through and reamed out to 30mm. I've done the same with the second set, welded them up, tacked it back together, and we get that set up the same. I think for these second holes though, I will use the edge finder to find the middle of there. It didn't matter so much when I did the first side, but now when I've already got a hole that's the size of the reamer, so I'll need to line them up a bit better. This mill is a bit numb for lining stuff up by feel. On a mill like that has a quill, you can feel when the quill's going up and down whether you're lined up. But with this, with it all being on wheels, whatever, you can't really feel as much. So I don't want to have it not lined up and then it take more out of one side, or it take some out of one side of the hole that it shouldn't be doing. Right, so that's both of them out to reamed out to 30mm. So they're proper size now rather than just a laser cut hole. People often ask about the weld splatter on my table as well. Does it not stick to it? And then it just comes off easy as that. So this linkage, I'll do the same with that, weld up them holes and then drill them and ream them through. I know that the hole is 37mm centres from the end and 34mm from the side, so I use the edge finder to measure that. And then I'll maybe tack a bit from one side to the other when I drill it through, and then it's not going to push it down and flex it. And then I think the bushes are actually maybe alright in that end. I've cut a bit of 30mm bar. It seems like it's a decent fit. Don't really want to be much tighter than that, otherwise there's nowhere for the grease to go. Pin's not fantastic. If it's any tighter than the because the grease nipple's in the middle, when you pump grease into it, it ends up, if it's too tight, they end up pushing the bushes out instead. Right, so that's that sorted as well. Yeah, so them bushes are alright I think in there, so that's that bit done, that's that bit done. Bushes on the top side have worn through, so it wants some new bushes in there. Yeah, a lot of these holes, like I said earlier, still have the paint in them. still have the paint in them, and you can still see the laser cut marks around them. There is a little bit of wear in the like bottom side of there, but when you put the pin through, you know, just slacker them. But obviously they've been like that since new. This one is worn. You can see that one actually is oval. But that one on that side still has a paint in it. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to do with them, whether I should do them or leave them as they are. In my eyes they're too slack, but that's how they've been since new. These top ones are the same, but I think they'll be alright because you won't really notice them because they go through onto that, so it's just, you won't really notice the bit of slack in them. But the other ones where the rams go onto, you'll notice them because the whole frame will rattle backwards and forwards. I'll knock them bushes out, put some new ones in there. Wow. Right, I've decided with these holes, I'm not going to do anything with them because you're not really going to gain much. It still operates how it should do, it's just be a little bit rattly. They should have been better than that when they were new, but now, for as they are, I don't think you're really going to gain much for the amount of time it's going to take to sort them out. This one is the worst one, so I'll maybe sort this one out. I'm thinking if I can maybe weld it round, die grind it back out, and then use the reamer through from that side and just turn it by hand to ream it back out to size, because that's the one that's sort of worst of them all. This one at this side is not half as bad for some reason. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Right, so that's definitely not my proudest repair, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was. So that's a lot better. So I was using my air-powered die grinder, but it's taking ages. I think it's about on its last legs. It seems like the port comes out of line with where the air goes in, and then it doesn't go very well. So you have to keep taking it in bits and realigning the port again. But it's about, I've had it a long time, it's about at it, I think. I remember that I was given this electric die grinder. It's 110 powered. A guy called Graham gave me it. A while ago I did a roto tilt, did some line boring on a roto tilt attachment, and the guy that brought it, Graham is called, he gave me that. It's the first time I've used it, but that's a lump more powerful. It's about 3 or 4 times more powerful than that, so you can remove some serious metal with it. I've not used it before because it's on a 110. I didn't have me transformer in the workshop, but I thought I'll give it a go, and yeah, it's definitely a lot better, so thanks for that, Graham. Just have to get rid of all them filings now. They're horrible, them filings. They get stuck in your fingers and everywhere. Little splinters. So I've got them bushes knocked out of there. You can see they've worn through the plastic. So I've got some new ones to go in. I'm just going to get these now. They're a little bit longer though, so I'll have to knock them in and then chop the end off. And then we'll put the same bushes in the end of the rams. And then at least they've got bushes in now. They didn't have anything in before, so then I just need to sort some bushes out for this end. Now these are 36mm outside diameter with 30mm inside diameter, which you can't get them apparently, or my bearing and bush supplier can't get hold of them, so we'll have to make some, I think. But I'll get these put in here first. Right, so because I can't buy any bushes, standard bushes for them, I've made some steel ones. So I've made a bush like that, I've pressed it in. So I've just got one more to make now for that one. And then the interference fits, I might have to run the reamer through them afterwards just to get them back out to size. They do fit at the moment. But because the interference fit, they shrink down a little bit, and obviously the reamer doesn't compensate for that. Right, that's that second one made as well. One for there. So they do measure slightly different one way than they do the other. So I've taken the big measurement and then used that for the interference fit. So it will squash it out of shape a little bit, but then I run the reamer through after. When I pressed that one in, I started it on the little press and then that ran out of power, so I had to use a hollow jack. So I try with a hollow jack. It's just a bit awkward getting them started sometimes with that. I might have to use a press to start with. We'll see how we get on. Yeah, so that's them pressed in as well. Just need to take that grease nipple out and then drill through where the grease hole is. Right, that's them drilled through. So I just need to open them out a little bit because they are a bit tight now they've squashed into the hole. We've got some new bolts as well, but new bolts are not bang on 30mm, they're slightly smaller. So I think I'll just be able to get away with going in there with a sanding wheel and a die grinder, just opening them out a little bit. Right, so bolt fits through all them nice now. So that's them sorted. It's been a couple of days since I did them. I didn't order the bolts straight away because I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of the like holes on the actual frame. So I've got some new long bolts and then some replacements for the rest of them. They're coarse to thread pitch, but it shouldn't matter. I've got new nuts as well. I don't know why they were fine pitch. They didn't really need to be fine pitch because they're not super tight. And then with them on nylock nuts, they're not going to come undone anyway, so let's do 10.9. So bring the machine back around now and then we can start putting it back together. Them new bolts are nice and tight in there. If you can remember how much slap there was on them before when the hole was worn, it's actually a lot better. There's a little bit, but because the bolt is smaller than 30mm, so there will be a little bit of slack in them. But yeah, we'll get this frame put on first, and then put the rams in, and then put the bit on top. Right, so I got them bolts in, got them bolts through. I'll have to chop the end off though because the socket is bottoming out on the end of the bolt before I can get them tight. So yeah, chop that off and then get them tighten them up better then. Right, so that's that back on and all the bolts are tight. Pipes are connected back up. So it's a lot tighter than it was. There is still a little bit in it, but there always will be because the bolts are slightly smaller than the bushes. And then as long as them bolts are kept tight, they want to be really tight all the time. So they can't wobble about in the hole, which is sort of what they were doing before. The bolts weren't very tight. But yeah, them bottom ones are a lot beefier and stronger than they were. That's where most of the wear was. Yeah, I'll put that ram back in and that linkage and then sit the other bit back on top. Right, so that is all that put back together then. So I've had to reuse some of the old bolts. Picked out the best ones of the old bolts because these new bolts, the shank is not long enough. The thread would have been in the hole, which you don't really want. So the old bolts weren't that worn, but some of them were fine. So I've picked out the best ones and reused them. But yeah, everything should be a lot tighter now. We've redone them, done the ends of the rams, them ends of the rams. We've done them joints, that joint, that end of the ram, new bushes in there, and then that other one was alright. Oh, we did the other end of that. No, that was alright. There's bushes in that. So it's not perfect, but it should be a lot better than it was. You can't really tell because if you grab hold of the ram, there's air. If you grab hold of the tine, there's air in the ram, so it just pushes the ram in. You can't really wobble it much, but everything does feel a lot tighter. The customer said he was going to paint it himself, so I haven't put anything on, haven't done anything with that. So I'll give all that a grease round now. so I can't get to that one, and I can't get to these underneath. So it'll have to be folded down to do that, but I can't fold it down because I don't have the control box for it. So yeah, that's about all I can do with it. So yeah, done that, done all that, done the cracks underneath in the last video. So yeah, I think that's about sorted. So yeah, I'll put it back on the little tractor and then shift it out of the way. I've been speaking to someone yesterday that has owned 3 of these bale chasers now, and he was saying new, they're about £140,000. Not quite sure whether it's the same spec as that one or because there's different models of them. But yeah, they are a lot of money. But when I was saying to him about the problems it's had and the problems with it, from my point of view, he was quite surprised because as like an operator, they're great machines for what they're intended for and what they're doing. For the person that's using them, they are good machines. And from my point of view, repairing them, and I don't try and pick faults with manufacturers' work on purpose. I'm just trying to do an honest video of like what I think could be better, or what's gone wrong with them. But for a machine that cost over £100,000, there's not £100,000 worth of engineering in it. But apparently these guys own the patent for that type of machine, so there isn't anyone else that can compete with them for the speed that they pick up bales and what they do. Anyway, I don't know all the details of that. It's just what I've been told. So that's probably one of the reasons why they are so expensive. But like them laser cut holes, if they were laser cut bigger and then they got some CNC machined collars or bushes made up and welded into them laser cut holes, it's only going to add a few £100 fabrication cost to a machine. So it's not really much of an expense more to do that, but it takes the engineering up a level from sort of baseline to a bit better. Same with them chassis plates. They'll have been laser cut out, so why didn't the laser cut a few holes in them and weld them back through onto the chassis? For that sort of price, well, that's what I'd expect at least anyway. But like I say, from an operator's point of view, they are a very good machine. And then obviously it's my job to fix stuff that's broken, so you only get to see the broken stuff because that's what I do. So don't always get to show stuff in the best light because I'm fixing the stuff that's already broken. But yeah, just thought I ought to say something a bit about that. But yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed the 3 parts. I'm very glad it's gone and I can move on to another job now. But yeah, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.